Okay, I have a confession to make. I'm using my phone still, but I'm outside, so maybe that's better for Sadie's health. She's way over there playing, hopefully not eating cat poop. It kind of fell off my whole daily Reiki schedule there right around Christmas. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that even though I had been attuned, I could totally, like, I woke up one morning and I could breathe completely for the first time in, I don't know, ever. it was like I just could breathe. It was weird. But I still wasn't, like, substantively clean, so to speak. Like, not consciously, anyway. If shit's there, I'm gonna do it. Even though half of me didn't even want to, most of the time. But, it's like, I just didn't want to go through a whole, okay, now I'm gonna decide to be sober. And it's gonna be a big deal, like quitting. And that one time last year, I think it was last year, was it 2020, the year COVID happened, 2020, yeah. In the summer when I started researching creating your own reality videos and stuff like that, and I just got clean without even thinking about it for 7 weeks, and it turned into being way longer than 7 weeks, but it wasn't until I had to deal with my parents again that I just relapsed, and well, of course. But for some reason that time, it's like I didn't even think about it because it wasn't a struggle, because I wasn't struggling with myself and the whole quitting thing. I just didn't do it anymore because I didn't feel like I needed to. And I know that goes against everything everyone will ever tell you about anything, that, it sucks, man. Your whole life is gonna suck. Being sober is a fucking pity. No motivating factor whatsoever. I don't know why they tell people that. Because it's really, like, not that big of a difference if you really think about it. Like, for all the years that I've been sober on and off, like in the last 10 years, it's like I have these really long periods and then short relapses, and then I always miss feeling like myself. But I do like altered states of consciousness, and the more meditations I do, and the more sort of journeying kind of experiences that I do, it's like it's easier for me to have alternated states of consciousness without having to be super high on anything, which is really kind of cool. It's like a free high. So now that I can kind of rely on that for those feelings of journeying, so to speak, away from reality, because I'm totally an escapist. I already know that's why I love movies so much. I love going into other people's lives, basically, because for me it was always like an experiment to see if everybody else's life was as shitty as mine, basically. And then when I'd find ones that were difficult, I'd be like, okay, I'm not alone. And it was, it was like my company. It was like my friends in movies, And so that's why I loved movies all the time. And people talk about escapism as if it's such a terrible thing, but, like, sometimes, being in other realities is the best thing, because you can pull elements of those other realities into your actual 3D reality, and you couldn't do that without an imagination. So I don't know why. Well, it's just one of those Graham Hancock things of, like, society's degradation against anything imaginative, or anything altered state of consciousness, like, ooh, like it's got such a stigma, even though it doesn't even need to include drugs, because you can be altered when you're exercising, for fuck's sake, you know what I mean? Or when you're swimming, because you're underwater and all of a sudden it's quiet. That's altered. You're not hurting anybody. Anyway, so my point was, with the whole Reiki thing, I think Sadie may have been developing cancer for a while, and it wasn't until she had that huge lump that I actually found it. because she's got a couple other tiny, I don't have the actual blood work results yet, but she's got a couple tiny little lumps in her throat that have been there for months. And one of the other symptoms of the mast cell cancerous tumors is that when they have a hard time getting up in the morning because their hips hurt. And remember when she was crying in the morning and I switched her over to the freeze-dried raw food because that was the only thing that seemed to help her flexibility. Sadie, don't eat that. Get out of there. Don't eat that. Go on, go over there. And so I think that, you know, even back when we were parked at Flower Shop might have been when she actually first started developing it, which doesn't surprise me because if that's the case, it means it's been really slow moving. So I'm kind of bracing myself for whatever they're going to tell me tomorrow when I get the results. And do what this quote that I stumbled upon yesterday said, and it just said, embrace the morning dew before it burns away. And so that's what we're doing. Stop eating cat food, Duty. That's not for you. Get over here. Okay, so yeah, we try to like actually physically go out for long walks now, longer walks even still. Like our whole day is pretty much me walking Sadie these days and enjoying as much of it as possible because it's like I'm projecting good times into the future for when she's not here anymore. Just so that, because that was the only thing that seemed to save me when she was stolen for those few months, was all the times that I had been conscious with her. Hey Sadie, there's a skunk over there. You probably don't want to do that. Uh-oh. Sadie, come here. Psst, psst, come here. Sadie, come here. All the times that I've been conscious were the times that I could look back on with joy when she was missing and be like, well, at least I was conscious with her. At least I was present when she was with me. And I wasn't like zoning out on something and not paying attention to her. And that was the only thing that seemed to stop me crying during the whole grieving process for when she was gone for those 2 weeks. So I kind of know already what I have to do now is like be here with her, sniffing around and shit for the feral cats. It's not for dogs. Go on, Sadie. Go, 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 go. Go, go, go. And, you know, here we are, very toxic. Ducks seem to not mind this toxic environment, but hey, you know, whatever. It's everywhere. We come from New Jersey. We know what toxicity is like. We grew up in a dysfunctional family. We know what toxic means. And sometimes you just have to adapt. And grow a third eye. Whoa. Okay, so, well, I was going to say also, as she rolls around in the fucking clover, it's my favorite thing ever. Oh, yeah. See this dew water here? I know you're going to think this is super weird, and I don't give a fuck, but, this dew water, like, it's the kind, remember that show, I think it was maybe the newer version of Cosmos when they talk about tardigrades and they go into like a morning dewdrop and then you see all the little tardigrades in there and it's so super freaky. And I always think of them now when I see dewdrops. But if you take these dewdrops and you wipe them on your skin, and this is why I think she loves rolling around in the dew so much, it does something. It's like aloe vera. It has this really, I know you're going to think I'm weird, but I don't give a fuck, because I live in a truck, you know. I don't have a fucking... And, you know, I spend a lot of time laying around in the wet grass, so I've discovered these things. It just makes your skin feel really nice. It's like lemon juice or something, you know. Or menstrual blood. You're not going to like that. But I have not put any menstrual blood on my face, you know why? Because I ain't got those things anymore. I'm a crone. Yay! As of next week, it's official. I'm officially a crone lady. Officially old witch lady. Yeah, old witch. I can be like I was going to confess something about that whole Reiki thing. What was it? Oh, yeah, I wanted to show you the symbol, because I know people are supposed to pay, like, usually a shit ton of money for this information, but I'm seeming to have the more and more information I get about different healing techniques that cost a lot of money to find out about, the more I just want to talk about them for free because all the people that really need that information are people like me with no money on the street and in homeless encampments. So before you go throwing a rock at somebody with a garbage bag on their car window, just think about all the information that if they had that information, they wouldn't be in that situation, most likely. Okay, so I'm just going to draw this on the ground for a second. It goes like this. Oh, that's maybe not the best place. I'll have to go over here. Get some nice... Okay, here's a good spot. See this? I'm going to draw this symbol, if you can see it. I don't know. It's a straight line. It goes down. And this is what suckered me. As soon as I saw this symbol, I was like, I'm in. Because I was all, who the fuck do I think I am that I think I can be a healer? I'm not a fucking healer. But, and then it goes like 1, 2, yeah, and 3. It's basically a line that goes down, and then 3 spirals in counterclockwise for discreating any kind of situation, like disease or whatever. And then it goes this way. 1, 2, kind of an artist am I right now? And it goes opposite of that, clockwise for creating things. And as you're drawing them, you have to say the name of the symbol 3 times, which is Shokure, Shokure, Shokure for discreate, and Shokure, Shokure, Shokure for create. So that's like a power symbol, right? And you can make these symbols in your head like this, you know, like you can just see like as if you had laser beams coming out your fingers or whatever, and it can be whatever color you want. You can just draw the symbol on stuff as you're reciting it to protect things, or on your animals. You know, it's specifically for charging your battery, basically, or discharging batteries for vibes that you don't need on you, for protection, in other words. So that symbol, right, imagine that symbol's flat, right? Now, try to imagine that symbol in 3D, which would be, let's see, how can I explain this? I'm going to lay here for a second so you can see what I mean. All right, so see, I'm in the grass, right? And now I'm laying in my bed or whatever in the morning. I like to do these in the morning. Now imagine that symbol in 3D, and if you see my finger, imagine your brain, you think of the symbol going 1, and then coming down all the way through you, and then as the spirals go all the way around your entire body, 3 times, Shokure, 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 right? There, like, so that your whole body is inside the vortex of spirals, right? And then you do it again, and you do it again, and it goes Shokure, 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 all the way around. And then you do it again, and you do that 9 times. And the way I think of it is I do 3 over here, and then I do 3 down here, and then I do 3 over here. So it's 9 shokures going all around your entire body, and you can make the spirals as big as you want, as long as they're spiraling in a sort of funnel shape, right? For discreating, to protect yourself. And if you're feeling particularly like you want to send a lot, if you're feeling already like really super positive and you want to send out like, whoa, good vibes. Also, you can do the same thing, but do it in the opposite way, which is in the clockwise. Let's see, clockwise, yeah. Spiraling out of you, or spiraling into the earth, or spiraling out into the sky, or whatever. And sometimes, just because it takes that long to think about that symbol and saying that word, which is probably, unless you speak the language, doesn't make any sense to you. But being in that thinking of drawing that spiral with your laser finger for just enough time, it seems to also automatically shift your breathing, which helps if you're dysregulating or freaking out about shit. And the most important thing when it comes to anything related to Reiki, it's got nothing to do with you.
This is why it was easy for me to go, okay, I want to learn, I'm in, because as soon as they said, the symbols and with the words and with the stuff and the energy, it's got absolutely nothing to do with you as a person. All you need to do is get out of the fucking way. Because all you're doing is acting as a radio station, or a radio. You're basically just broadcasting and receiving the energy of Reiki, the healing wisdom and power of this, billions of years old energy called Reiki, which is basically the energy of life. And you're just acting as a transmitter and receiver of that energy. The less your ego has to do with it, the better. So when good things happen because of it, you don't take credit for that, because that's not you. And when things happen to other people that you're sending it to, you don't take credit for that either, because when you send the energy, the Reiki itself is what's telling the person to heal themselves. It's not you telling the person to heal themselves. And most often people don't know that they're actually healing themselves. You're just basically opening the channel up for them to access their own ability to tap into the Reiki and then heal themselves. And this is the same reason that sometimes placebos actually have such a positive effect on people, because when you think it's doing something, because it's all about what's in your head. Yeah, and what's in your head is happiness and dewdrops and grass. So, yeah, take that one with you and put it wherever you want. I'm sober now, can you tell? I don't even really notice the difference. I feel pretty much the same, except that I like myself more, which is weird, because I did a lot of bargaining in my head, like the less that I demonize drugs, the easier it'll be to let that skin shed off of me like a snake skin, basically. And it's true, because that's exactly what happened. The less I demonized it and just kind of looked at it like weed or something, then the same thing would happen with every substance that happened with weed, which was one day I just kind of realized my favorite part of smoking weed was when I wasn't high anymore. Because I would get so panicky and overthink things, and it was too strong at that point, because they were altering it all the time and making it way more filled with, or maybe I was smoking the wrong type, the one that makes you go down instead of up. I like the uppers, not the downers. So, wow, what's that? That's really gross. Oh, it's part of a pineapple. I thought it was guts. What do I know? So, yeah, what are you looking at now? See. So yeah, it was actually easier to just kind of let it slide off of me, but most especially when this whole lump thing started happening, because before I even knew it was cancer, I was like, I'll bet this has something to do with just too many toxins in my body, and that Sadie is somehow absorbing all of my bad vibes right now, and that it's making her sick too. And so I decided, for her sake, I just needed to, stop being obsessive and self-destructive, because it's not even about the feeling, and because of fentanyl, because that shit is fucking, when you put fentanyl on anything, especially if it's like, supercharged heroin, but if you're putting it in uppers, sort of defeats purpose, fucking assholes. You can't get good old-fashioned uppity speed anymore. Now you gotta fucking put that shit in it and make people, fucking barf and shit themselves, and all kinds of weird shit starts happening. You're like, what is going on? This is not how it's supposed to be. And why am I yawning after a fucking fat rail? Yeah, it's the fentanyl. So since it's in everything now, and people are literally dropping like flies all around me, just not even knowing that it's that deadly. It just seems like such an insult. Like, we can't even have our good old-fashioned street drugs anymore. They gotta get fucked with now too, and it's just 100% synthetic. So I figured I'll just go back to chewing weird leaves or whatever, or just take a break, because the world itself is a fucking chaotic mess right now, so it's almost like escaping from it in sobriety is like the best escape at this point, because then you can look a cop straight in the eye, dead in the eye, and just tell him he doesn't know what he's talking about. Because you're sober. It just gives you this, like, I don't know, I just get this spine that I don't have when I'm on drugs. And half the reason I would stay on drugs was to keep my humility, because I kept feeling like it's a good thing that it shames me. I feel ashamed of being on drugs or whatever, because then I have this like sense of humility and I won't get all self-righteous. Because one of the first few times I was getting sober, back when I was like 19, I was so angry and had no way of handling that kind of amount of anger that I was a fucking dangerous criminal, basically, and I was sober as fuck, and I was just so angry. I just wanted to destroy things constantly, and it was terrible. I was like, God, dude, I need to smoke some weed and calm the fuck down. And so, I just kind of closed my eyes to being sober again for a good 25 years and just smoked weed all the time, which was fine up until it started getting too strong. Anyway, too strong so that I could get on a different drug that was way stronger. Who knows? Who knows what the fuck. But I still have a wonderful warm spot in my heart for acid, because, especially liquid acid, because that's like what I should have been doing my whole life. But, down in Alabama you can't get that shit, so at least you couldn't before. But, yeah, no, because it gives you that sort of like extra breathing space in the brain to kind of step away from your own shit long enough to see everything as a pattern. And that's really important for people with trauma, I think, to be able to start to see their behaviors as a puzzle and figure out why certain puzzle pieces keep showing up over and over, and you keep trying to put a square peg in a round hole, and it's never going to work. No matter how many times you're running in and out of the hole to make the square peg rounder. Anyway, yeah, it's all like part of the process. Yeah, so demonizing the drugs is really pointless, because then you're just making the process harder for yourself, It's just another thing like money or sex or gambling or anything else. It's all just different versions of the same thing. So, now I'm only addicted to sugar, gotta get off, and tobacco, but I'm all, one thing at a time, buddy. I'm not gonna quit everything all at once. What do you think I am? So, I just wanted to say that about having your own self-talk on what you're doing and knowing the reasons why you're doing it, being able to drill down into the root of what the emotion is that you're dealing with on a regular basis. And now I've finally been able, this last Christmas, I was finally able to figure out, and especially after I received all those donations for Sadie's tumor removal, my first thought as I'm buckled to my knees and started bawling on the floor was, I don't deserve this. I don't deserve this much help. Like, it's not even about me, it's for Sadie, and still that rock of unself-worthiness was just right there in my face, and I was like, oh God, here it is again. Like, it's so hard for me to accept love from other people. Even if it's because of an animal that brings out the best in everyone, which is like so innocent you can't attach any of your own fucking bullshit to it. It still came up and was like, hey, here I am, unself-worthiness. Why is everyone helping me? I should just go die. Because as I was quitting everything in favor of Sadie, saying to myself, whenever I have cravings, just ask yourself, who do you love more? This bag of drugs or your dog? It's such an easy answer, so I haven't really had any cravings other than like one for 10 seconds. And I'm like, oh, look at that, there it goes. Like a little bird just flew by. And that's good. And plus, because I've been here in sobriety so many times before and for such long periods of time, the self-righteousness I was worried about showing up was really masking self-respect, which I didn't know how to deal with that either, because I'd never had any. And I think, back when I was in Ohio and I was clean for a really long time, and I was just starting to after a couple of years, really starting to like grasp onto the idea of self-respect. It was so powerful, that feeling, as this guy was trying to like hit on me at work, and I just burped in his face and was tried to be as disgusting as possible so that he would stop flirting with me, and it totally worked. And I had this overwhelming feeling of self-respect, and it was just like, oh my God, this feeling is so cool. How could I have not known how good this feels? And for me, that's been like the big reward for ditching the shame bug in favor of self-respect, because it isn't self-righteousness. It's a much more internal sort of, it's like your internal mountain feeling, where people just can't fuck with you the same anymore. And it's not an aggressive feeling like self-righteousness, because you're not trying to change anybody else. You're just on your own mountain. You know, that it's no longer crumbling below you as you speak, which is nice. It is nice. It's a nice feeling. But of course, I guess you have to be old and decrepit before you start to get around to these things. Maybe the hormonal changes help you kind of open your eyes a bit more to everybody's sack of rocks, so it's not all about you anymore, you know, especially if you grew up around a bunch of narcissists. Yeah, so I was just thinking that if anything should happen in the next few months, or if, you know, things progress faster than we think they might, or if it spreads in Sadie's cancer's case, and who knows, maybe even in my case, I don't know, I'm not even ready to go there yet. I'm still trying to help Sadie. That, you know, because she can't drive me to the hospital, so I figure you got to do it in this order first. So then maybe, you know, this kind of information will help other people who are coming out of the whole pandemic thing and trying to live a different life, that it feels, even though it's totally like a trendy word now, authentic, which is so sad that it's trendy. We'll come up with some new words for these feelings, I'm sure, that are not trendy. Yeah, hopefully. Because why not? Birdies are singing. Oh, yay. Get out of the cat food, Duty. I know you're in there. I know you're in the cat food. She's in the cat food. Right. She's eating poop, I'll bet. Oh, my knees. God, they fucking hurt. Yeah. Oh, there she is. Yay, Sadie! Hey! Hey! How you doing? I met this guy at the park the other day. He's all, you know, you have a lot of weird voices. Maybe you should do voiceovers for cartoons. And I was all, dude, that's such a good idea. How does one go about doing that? Because they pay you a lot of money to, like, talk for a little while into a microphone. I'd be so into that. Yeah. What do you think, Diddy? I love that idea, because God knows I can't be a hand model. Look at that shit. Yep.
I'm regarding of Sadie's lab results, and just wanted to let you know that there were no significant abnormalities.